Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. This is it. This is the big one. Manchester United versus Manchester City. I am joined by Conner and Jess from All for United WFC. We are here to talk about, well, the biggest derby of the weekend by an absolute mile. Manchester United women versus Manchester City women. A potentially record crowd. We're expecting a potential record crowd for this fixture. Maybe even a record crowd in the WSL. What do you reckon first? Let's start with the crowd of it all, because it's at Old Trafford, isn't it?
Yeah, WSL is going to be difficult. Obviously, Arsenal have got that in the kind of the 50,000s. But as I said, we were chatting about this earlier. If we can beat City's, obviously the record attendance in this fixture is at the Etihad, 44,000. Let's beat them on the pitch and off it as well, because we're close. We're over 40,000. We can get there quite easily. There's only a couple of thousand to go to reach that. We can get that. I saw this morning the second tier, so Stretford and the East Stand have now been starting to be sold as well. So
that's good.
Yeah, we can breach that, and it's great to see. I think previous records in the low 30s. So we've if obviously everyone turns up on Sunday, we've massively smashed that one.
That's great. I mean, it's not just about the crowd, but I think the crowd is used a lot in the women's game as a sort of indicator of popularity, but the popularity of the women's game is almost without question at this point. I think that's almost like a secondary story. It's a massive fixture, a massive game. United, not the best start to the season so far. Sort of describe what we've seen in the first 4 fixtures we've had so far, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's been a little bit mixed. I mean, we've kind of coming into today fairly positive.
Yeah.
We kind of picked up a couple of draws that maybe we should have won, but I think it's just one of them. We've got some good results the last few games, been absolutely firing goals in. I think it's something like 17 goals maybe in our last few games.
Just the complete opposite to the men's team.
Yeah, basically.
The men's team cannot buy a goal at this point.
I think there was that stat. I think the women's side have scored more in the last 4 than the men have all season, I think, in the league, which is
I'm not surprised.
Quite terrifying, really.
The men's team don't score.
Well, yeah. So the last few games we've been very lucky in the amount of goals we've scored. Had plenty of different goal scorers as well, which absolutely love to see. Really kind of is looking like anyone can kind of score on the pitch at the minute. Yeah. So pretty positive going into this fixture. City, kind of similar to us, have had a bit of a ropey start, however a little bit worse. We have at least managed not to kind of lose any games so far, so we are going into this unbeaten, whereas City have lost a couple now. They lost against Brighton at the weekend, which really is a fixture that they should have won. We did draw against Brighton and we were feeling pretty disappointed about it, to be honest.
That's not as bad as losing, is it?
Exactly. So suddenly the disappointment we were feeling about drawing to them is looking a little bit better now, and that's looking like points gained. So I think we're going into this fixture in a pretty positive mindset, to be honest.
Undefeated as well so far this season.
Undefeated.
Which is one way of looking at disappointing draws.
Yes.
You go undefeated.
Obviously, exactly.
So obviously this fixture's massive, with it being a derby. Obviously anyone who's nearby, go down, get tickets. I think Jay's going this time. Obviously you two will be there as well. But in terms of the bigger picture then, if you're looking at this as the start of the season, United finished second in the league and runners-up in the FA Cup last season. Sort of quite a crushing way to end the year, wasn't it? What's the expectation for United this season? Have they strengthened well? Is it, you would expect them to be challenging for the title, or certainly that would be the aim. Do you think that's feasible?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough. Chelsea are the best team in the country. They just are. And I don't want to give them too much credit on here. I did that enough last time, but I think they just are. So I think a successful season, getting in the top 3 again, so it means we qualify for the Champions League again. Obviously, we went out against PSG in the qualifiers this season. But, we were in the game. It was closer than I think a lot of people thought. So if we can get top 3 again, get obviously back into the Champions League, we can challenge Chelsea. I think we've got the squad there. Being back in the Continental Cup, or the Conti Cup as it's known, it's not ideal. We kind of put our second string out last season and went out in the group, so I don't think it was a priority at all. So that could potentially be a bit of a problem. But I think our squad is better this season. We've improved a lot. The bench is a lot stronger. The 11's a lot stronger. So expectations, I think it depends on who you speak to. Me personally, it's got to be top 3 again.
Yeah.
I'd like to see us go and avenge, obviously, with the FA Cup and go and win that this time. And I want it to be against Chelsea again, so we can overturn that result. But yeah, it depends who you speak to. I think some fans are just happy getting back into the top 3 again. But for me, I think we've got to be looking at silverware now.
Yeah.
A few years in now, the squad's there. We've got Champions League winners in our squad. We've got players that have been at Barcelona and all these top teams around Europe. We need to be challenging for trophies.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, from obviously we predominantly cover the men's team on Stretford Paddock, and what you tend to see a lot is almost the women's team being used as you see, these players have left and she's gone to this club and we've not managed to keep this player. And almost the main thing you see in the press is using the women's team as sort of ammunition to slag off how badly ran United are, men's, women's, academy, everything. And it's like, they're training in a shrub and they've just got a shoebox to do a week. Like all these things, it's like, instead of focusing on the positives, of which there were many last season, they sort of use the women's team as look how many players have left. So would you say the squad is stronger than it was last season? Have United actually recruited well? Because all you hear is we couldn't keep hold of Lauren James.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the media in general don't really treat United with, just an ounce of respect at all, to be honest. Literally none. Granted, I think... Well, you can say the same with any club. I think there's some question marks about how things are being run behind closed doors, and there's enough questions with United on that. So, there are some kind of question marks. However, for the women's side, we have just opened a brand new training facility.
Yeah, I saw that.
From what I've seen from the videos and stuff, looks absolutely top notch. So I guess if you want to be really kind of pessimistic or picky, you can ask why it didn't happen sooner. But at the end of the day, it's happened. Can't really complain at that. Yes, like in any kind of sport or any team, you're going to lose big names at some point, but you're also going to bring in names. So, like kind of mentioned, Lauren James a couple of years ago, she was always going to go to Chelsea. That was always going to happen. Again, we kind of lost Conner Jess in the summer. She's a Barcelona girl. She went back to Barcelona. Barca are the best team in Europe, so no real kind of question as to why she's done that.
Yep.
However, we've brought in some really good names, I think, in summer. They're settling in nicely now. We got Jace. Miyazawa has obviously come off the back of being the Golden Boot winner. So I think realistically we've strengthened the team nicely, and now they're sort of gelling together. I think maybe a couple of those draws we picked up might have been because a little bit of kind of disjointed, still trying to work out where to play players in the best position, but now we're kind of getting that a bit more nailed. The players are settling in nicely, There's always a language barrier as well to kind of overcome at first with some of the foreign players coming in, but that seems to be less of an issue now. Players are getting to know where each other are. So I think going into this fixture, like I said before, we are in a really strong position and we've got a very good team behind us. So I think if everyone's kind of performing like they should, there's no reason why we can't, make the most of this game and really put on a good show and get a good result out of it.
Yeah. In terms of this game then, who are your key players for United? Who are your key players for City to... who's going to win and lose this game for Man United?
I think from a United point of view, obviously Jess just mentioned her there. Jace, who we got from Barcelona, our kind of highest paid fee for a player. I've never seen, and I think if she continues her form, obviously she's got a couple of goals now, which in the first few games she wasn't scoring, and people were kind of getting a little bit worried. Have we paid 300,000, which is a lot of money in the women's game for somebody who's not scored yet? But on the ball, I've said numerous times, I think she could be one of United's best ever players, because I've never seen a player be able to turn like her. The arrogance, I love it. I think against West Ham at the weekend, 3-0 up, she's doing keepy-ups on the edge of the box, trying to nutmeg players and do all of these things. So I absolutely love that about her. So she's definitely going to be up there too, and he's now back in form as well after a goal against Brighton, a couple of assists at the weekend. So obviously she's massively important. We spoke last time we were on here, and obviously last season our fullbacks were massively important. Blundell on the left, and it was Conner on the right-hand side. Yeah. This season it's been a little bit changed up. Gabby George came in. Unfortunately for her, she did her ACL earlier in the season, so she came out of the side. And Jade Riviere, who we bought in January, came in. And there's a bit of an expectation on her because everyone's wanting Conner 2.0 and looking at her as the direct replacement for Conner. And in some respects she is, but I've always said it's a little bit harsh on her because Conner is elite. For her, she's gone to Barcelona, she's starting for Barcelona, she's one of the best. And to put that, I guess, expectation on Jade so early on, I think was a bit harsh. But in recent weeks, I'm sure you'll agree, Jess, she's been phenomenal. And we are starting to see glimpses now. Again, I just said I don't want to put the pressure on her, but we are starting to see glimpses now.
Put the pressure on.
I was going to say, don't want to put the pressure on her before.
But as long as you're as good as her, you'll be all right.
No pressure, but we want 5 assists in this one game, and also if you can score a hat-trick.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
We're starting to see it. We're starting to see the patterns that we saw last season. Linking up, and we're having a more stable side because this season we've seen. Last season we had the one positive we had was the team was the team. That 11 pretty much picked itself. This season that midfield 3 has been changed a number of times, which is great. But players are getting more of a chance. But as Jess said earlier, we drew away to Brighton, drew at home to Arsenal, drew at home to Leicester. Those 3 games alone, we didn't drop points last season. We won all of those 3. So when you look at it like that, it's not been ideal, but the players are starting to click now. As I said, 7-0 against Everton the other week, 5-0 in the league, 5-0 at this, the weekend just gone against West Ham. It's starting to click, so I could reel off the whole squad. I won't, but Jace for me is the one
impressive and starting to turn things around. In terms of City then, who would you say are the key players to worry about?
Never really like giving City too much credit. However, they have got a very good side. You know, that you can't really kind of sleep on them almost. They are very good. For me, it's got to be Bunny Shaw, their striker. She's not necessarily started off quite as prolific as last season, but I think she was runner-up for kind of the Golden Boot last season, only behind Rachel Daly, bagged sort of like 20-odd goals, which when you consider the women's season and the less amount of fixtures compared to the men, that's a lot. That's very good going. So she really was their focal point last season. Now, kind of the good part of that is that if you can kind of mark her out of the game and keep her off the ball, then you're sort of onto a bit of a winner. Yeah. But I mean, she is kind of the perfect number 9 almost. You know, she's very, very strong. She's fast, extremely athletic, and she just has a very, very good finish on her as well.
You can't beat that, really.
No. So I remember,
as much it pains us to say it, that's a good combination.
Yeah, I remember being at the Etihad last year, and I saw her come on the pitch, and I was like, oh my God, how are we ever going to stop her from scoring? Because she's like quite a big girl, but she's just so athletic, just strong. And you think that might slow her down, and it does not.
Doesn't.
She was just absolutely bombing it past everyone. So for me, she's the one to watch, definitely. As well as their kind of wide players they'd normally have, Lauren Hemp and Chloe Kelly on the left and right wings, obviously England players, so we know them quite well. Well-known players. Chloe Kelly especially has started the season off pretty well. So I think Mary Earps in the United goal could have her work cut out for her.
Mary Earps, obviously one of the more sort of famous England players and saving the penalty in the final for England as well. Is she, when I watch her play, I just think just exceptional. Is she surely one of the best, if not the best keeper in England?
So she's actually voted like best keeper in the world, basically. Right. Again, like the rest of the team, started off a little bit ropey. However, she seems to have found her feet more than kind of comfortably now, and she's kind of throwing in the big saves that we know and love her for. The thing I love about her is just kind of like the way she swaggers around her box, to be honest. Yeah. And anyone who watches United games will know that she likes to swear quite a bit as well. She just commands her back line incredibly well. If you are behind the goal at any game, you will just hear her non-stop. Just non-stop. And do you know what? It's absolutely fantastic. She's just constantly talking to her back line. And I think that's why kind of we do so well defensively. Obviously, not only is she such an incredible keeper, but the way she reads the game and the way she instructs the rest of the team, she really is a leader from the back, which I think is just what you need from a keeper. Massively.
Like we've seen, obviously, for the men's team, like someone like Edwin van der Sar was fantastic at that, of like shepherding and making sure that
it's very much like that.
And then you can lose that, and you know, people that you see defences all of a sudden look like they don't know where they're going, and big gaps opening up, and I think someone at the back like Mary Earps is a massive.
It's been difficult as well, because for her, obviously she had the reported interest in her over the summer, and you know, people say she is a professional. I think we're seeing her get back to what we saw as well, but I think at the start of the season, particularly in those games against PSG, we saw her, and it only takes a fraction. You know, I say the 1% in football is always spoken about, just that 1% off a little bit. You know, that interest was there. It was highly reported by a lot of people, and obviously losing Honor as well, and that change backline, that change midfield. So the team defensively hasn't started off as strong as, you know, we speak about it a lot. That last season we weren't just one of the best defences in the WSL; it was one of the best in Europe. Whereas this season we started, I think the first 5 games we'd conceded first in every single game, and it was starting to become a little bit like, what's going on here? Obviously, with January approaching, we know that the rumours about her is going to come out again because she's out of contract next summer. So it's tough for her, and I think what we're seeing now, we saw it against Brighton in particular, and a few times against West Ham at the weekend. We're starting to see her get back to what we know she can do. She didn't just win all these awards for you know, best goalkeeper and all those for no reason. She is a world-class goalkeeper, so that's good from a United point of view. And as we said, going into this one, she's going to need to be on form, as well as that whole team defensively. Great.
Right, we can't end this without a score prediction. Every preview, we always do a score prediction. I'll start with you, Jess. Give me a score prediction. Give me your scorers as well. What's the score and who's going to score? Come on.
Right, you're really putting me on the spot there.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what? I'm going to go optimistic, and I'm going to say 2-0 United. I don't think we're going to concede
Clean
either.
sheet. Bunny short, get out of town.
Yeah, exactly. I think Miley Cizio and Millie Turner are going to be all over her. She's not even going to have a sniff of goal.
There you go. 2-0. Who's scoring the goals?
Right. I think Jace and I'm saying Ella Toone.
I knew you were going to say that.
Because Ella Toone's like one of my favourite players anyway. She's Manchester born and bred, and a goal in a Manchester derby for her at Old Trafford.
Stretford end as
It's
well.
like Rashford in the derby. Just
Yeah.
you know it's coming at some point.
It will literally probably be a dream come true to her. It'll be like me scoring, except I'm not going to be in that position. So she's got to do it on behalf of the rest of us girlies that aren't going to be able to.
Perfect. Connor, score prediction and scorers.
Do you know, I was thinking about this on the way up, and I say it before, like, it's cliche in big games. Everyone says 2-1, a tight game and all that. I don't think there's any reason why we can't put 3 past this City defence. They're going to be missing, obviously, Greenwood as well.
Yeah.
So that's one defender out, one good defender down. And I just think this United front line, Jace, as we mentioned, I think will get on the score sheet. So I'm going to stick with 3 now. I think Jace will get on the score sheet. I would love to see Tooney score, as you said, just because for her, that would just, I think, be the highlight of her career, scoring a goal like that. So I will go Tooney as well. And do you know what? We've not spoken about her on here, but I just wanted to Rachel Williams off the bench, because as a fan's favourite, when you're talking about players like her, she's very open that football's just a thing, and when she finishes, she's going back to plastering and doing all those things off the pitch. She is, when she signed, like, there was I say 90% of the fan base were a little bit, why have we signed her? Obviously getting towards the end of her career. But the cheer when she comes on, she scored so many late winners for us, like equalisers. She is probably, for me, apart from the Lioness, is the highest in terms of fan favourite. So I would love to see her score, because I think the whole Old Trafford crowd.
Yeah, I highly agree with that.
So 3-0 for me.
Well, winning them. There you go. It's sorted. Right. Thank you very much for joining us. Also, make sure if you're anywhere near the area, get down to Old Trafford at the weekend. The tickets will be £15. So come on, go down and watch the game. I mean, big game, isn't it? Very exciting.
I can't wait, honestly. I think Manchester derby, as we said, and obviously we always say, don't we, we don't want to compare it to the men's, but after the disappointing one at Old Trafford that we saw a few weeks ago from the men's, this is a chance to see a Manchester derby and obviously get the win as well. Because I don't want to take up too much time, but I think this is probably, and back end of last season, one of the first times we're going into it as favourites. We're looking at United now not as, how can we stop City? We're going, how are they going to stop us? And that's a big shift from previous years as well. So just get yourself down. It's a great team to watch.
Fantastic. Right. Make sure you check out All for United as well. We'll put the links to all of your channels in the description, so go and check them out. Thank you, Jess. Thank you, Connor. Thank you for watching at home. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you in a bit.